It cannot be overstated, as the numbers have shown a sharp increase. We must be proactive in the fight against COVID-19. Do not wait until someone you know or a loved one is infected with the virus to act. Follow the protocols, wear a mask, wash hands frequently, do not touch your face, and please, turn your yard. We all must play our part so we can prevent losing another citizen. This is Jamaica Magazine, and I'm Adrian Atkinson. The show begins right now.
Whenever you hear the following tone, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, will be giving information on an emergency situation affecting the island. Please be on the alert and listen to your radio and television for further information. This was a test of the emergency alert system, brought to you by ODPEM.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, August 11th. Residents of Flower Hill in St. James are finally getting potable water after 30 years without access to the commodity. The Rural Water Supply Limited has established a $110 million water supply system to serve the area with funding support from government's CAP-A program. Prime Minister Andrew Holness commissioned the Flower Hill water supply system into service on Friday.
For you every day, you have to contemplate how you're going to live your life without water. And for many of you, it would have been a struggle. In modern Jamaica, we should reach the point where everybody has potable water, meaning water that you can drink, water that you can use to do your domestic chores with, in your home. And that is our goal.
The new system consists of 2 relifting stations, storage tanks, and gravity lines, which will be fed with water from the Greater Montego Bay water system. The Morant Bay Urban Center development is at an advanced stage for construction to begin within the next 3 months, notwithstanding the challenges faced by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Factories Corporation of Jamaica Limited, FCJ, released a statement on Monday giving that assurance. FCJ Chairman Littleton Tanny Shirley says the initial June timeline to begin construction was delayed as the pandemic impacted the corporation's development of specific clients' requirements, the progress of the detailed engineering designs, and finalizing the financing arrangement. But as of today, he says the company has completed certain key measures to move the project forward. These include establishing Morant Bay Urban Center Limited as the project company, securing a construction loan arrangement from a reputable financial institution, and preparing the draft construction agreement, which is now awaiting a detailed bill of quantities. The FCJ says it has also addressed the relevant environmental issues and concluded the detailed master planning and designs. FCJ's chairman says the construction will begin as soon as final approval is given from the various government agencies. He adds that the corporation will be meeting with all the relevant stakeholders over the next 3 weeks to formally update them on the commencement of construction. The $6 billion project is expected to be a game changer for how urban developments are structured and a blueprint for economic growth and development in parishes such as St. Thomas. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett is adamant that government will not relent on its stance for some visitors to provide a COVID-19 test result for approval to vacation on the island. The Jamaican government established pre-testing requirements for the novel coronavirus for persons traveling to the island from Florida, New York, Texas, and Arizona in the United States. In addition, all persons arriving under the controlled entry program will still be subjected to testing, risk assessment, and screening at the airports. Minister Bartlett says these measures have negatively impacted bookings as the country gets over 60% of its visitors from the United States. But he insists that it is a necessary policy which may be expanded or at the very least enforced for a while.
Some people like to go elsewhere that they have less restraints. But we don't mind because we want to start safely, start properly, and to start in a way that minimizes the risk on our own people here.
Mr. Bartlett made the statements during a recent interview with JIS TV. Jamaica opened its borders to international visitors on June 15. Up to July 31, about 65,000 persons had vacationed on the island, raking in over $80 million in tourism earnings during the approximately 6-week period. Technology Minister Favour Williams says 19,000 more tablets will be distributed to educators across the island by September under the Tablets for Teachers program. An additional 40,000 tablets will also be given to students in infant and primary schools this academic year.
The ministry has an integral role to play in redesigning the architecture in terms of ICT resources available to educational institutions as well as our students.
Minister Williams was speaking recently at the commissioning of 2 community access points in St. Mary. She highlighted that since the start of the fiscal year, 6,000 tablets have been distributed to teachers in approximately 270 schools. The Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation has received a donation of just over $1 million to support and offset back-to-school expenses for adolescent parents. The AIDS Healthcare Foundation presented the check on Monday to support the Women's Center's Advancing Secondary, Tertiary Remedial Education for Adolescent Mothers, or A-Stream program. A-Stream gives adolescent parents the tools to take care of their children and further their education through 3 main components: mentorship, sponsorship, and scholarship. This is the 3rd year of partnership between the 2 foundations.
We're very pleased that the program has continued, and we're very happy this morning to hand over our tranche of funding in the amount of $1,088,000 to support those who are going back to school this year.
And finally, the Jamaica Information Service JIS 2020 Heritage Competition is now open. The annual event targets students attending primary, secondary, and tertiary learning institutions, challenging them to closely examine our heritage while making the connections with where we are now as a nation. Primary students can enter the essay competition, writing under the theme, "Identify a Jamaican from our past or an institution that exemplifies the statement from our national pledge, I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, and say why." The poster competition is open to secondary students who will this year submit either a graphic design or illustration based on the theme, I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace. Tertiary students will use the same theme to submit their entries for the photography competition. Prizes will be awarded to the top participants of the 3 components of the competition, courtesy of sponsorship from Corporate Jamaica. The deadline for the submission of entries to all 3 categories of the competition is Saturday, October 24, 2020. For further details, persons are being asked to contact Christine Adigold at the JIS by calling 876-926-35904, extension 2137 or 2132. Interested individuals can also email heritagephoto@jis.gov.jm, heritageposter@jis.gov.jm, or heritageessay@jis.gov.jm, or visit the JIS website. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, celebrating over 20 years of investment in community development. JSIF has forged relationships with international funding partners as well as private and public sector entities. Let us continue to invest to reduce vulnerabilities. Let us build our social capital and resilient infrastructures to ensure full participation in Vision 2030. JSIF, investing for community development. Coming up, highlights of Prime Minister Andrew Holness's whereabouts last week.
Prime Minister signs National Consensus on Crime, declares St. Thomas and Clarendon communities as quarantine areas, and champions the use of political sovereignty to achieve economic independence. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. Last week, Monday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness and other leaders, including opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips, signed the National Consensus on Crime Memorandum of Understanding. Signed at the Crime Consensus Summit, the agreement outlines the steps that must be taken for a sustainable reduction in crime, inclusive of milestones and agreements on a monitoring and reporting mechanism. Mr. Holness said the signing showed a united approach to crime-fighting efforts while providing oversight for actions to be taken.
Public disorder, crime and violence, and limited consequences for breaches of the law have for too long characterized Jamaica's security landscape. The political, economic, social, cultural, and infrastructural divides that continue to plague our society, these directly benefit criminals. Criminals profit when there is a divide in strategy and policy in the government.
By Tuesday, the Prime Minister was in North Central Clarendon for the opening of the Mucka Relief Station. A first for the community and its environs, the pumping station will carry water to several areas, including Red Bank, Cedars, and Pusey. The works were carried out by the National Water Commission, NWC.
It is not rare for the NWC to be operating in rural areas. But more and more, this administration is pushing the NWC to expand what is called the utility area, meaning the area in which they supply water for persons to be metered. And I want to emphasize, you need to come a little closer, Mr. President, that this is one of such projects where the water will be metered.
While urging residents to conserve water and pay their bills, Mr. Holness revealed that the government planned to have 85% of the population within 100 meters of a water supply system. For the other 15%, Mr. Holness said catchment, springs, and other small water projects would be used to supply the liquid to those homes.
As a government, despite COVID-19, we remain committed to making this the decade of growth for Jamaica to anchor our peace, prosperity, and resilience.
That was the Prime Minister delivering his message to commemorate the island's 58th anniversary of independence. Mr. Holness said a lot had been done to ensure that Jamaica could take advantage of its political sovereignty in order to realize its economic independence and prosperity.
Let us also remember that prosperity is not a destination. It is a direction on a journey. It unfolds each day. Let us join hands and heart in working each day to ensure the emergence of a new Jamaica, a Jamaica that is the place of choice to live, work, do business, raise families, and retire in paradise. In relation to the areas that are identified for quarantine in the parishes of Clarendon and St. Thomas, as we had done before, we will impose measures under the Disaster Risk Management Act to restrict movement and allow our health team the space to undertake their surveillance, their further surveillance, and related activities.
This was later on Independence Day when Prime Minister Andrew Holness called a digital press conference to address an uptick in COVID-19 cases. He revealed that effective August 6, the Sandy Bay community in Clarendon and Bamboo River in St. Thomas were under 14-day quarantine. During this period, the communities are under curfew. Residents will be allowed to leave their homes on shopping days, which are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. On Friday, the Prime Minister was in Western Jamaica, where he turned on the Flower Hill water supply system in St. James. After 30 years without the commodity, residents of Flower Hill and surrounding communities now have access to potable water. The $110 million system was funded by the Rural Water Supply Limited.
In modern Jamaica, we should reach the point where everybody has potable water, meaning water that you can drink. Water that you can use to do your domestic chores with in your home. And that is our goal.
While in St. James, the Prime Minister toured Barrowtown, where he unveiled the community's new signage, opened its park, and viewed the progress on a school. The projects are being undertaken by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund under its Integrated Community Development Project. During his visit to St. James, Mr. Holness also viewed another JCIF project. This time he got a first-hand look at work being done on the $550 million Montego Bay Fire Department building. The fire station is being constructed under JCIF's Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Program. Mr. Holness hopped over to Hanover on Saturday, where he turned on the Claremont to Jericho water supply system. The $400 million system ends 48 years of water scarcity in the area. Over 8,000 persons are expected to benefit from the new water supply system provided by the National Water Commission.
Every single Jamaican can be assured that the government is making the investment in water according to strategic priorities. We want to know where we're going to get the greatest economic return. We're going to want to look at, for example, where we can ensure that when we make the investment, we can get the repayment. But we also have a duty to make the investment where people have been without water for many years.
Prime Minister Holness also spent his weekend at church. On Saturday, he attended a service at the Lucy Seventh-day Adventist Church. And on Sunday, he worshipped at the Mount Carey Baptist Church in St. James. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us again next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
The JIS Heritage Competition is celebrating 10 years of youth expression on Jamaican history, culture and tradition.
Let me tell you about our Bashment heritage.
Jamaica still needs national heroes to preserve our cultural legacy.
Bogo got his men and led them down over the hills to Spanish Town.
Jamaican music to me represents our identity and culture as Jamaicans.
Add your voice and play your part in preserving our national heritage. The JIS Heritage Competition 2020, coming soon.
The current mission is to remain safe and healthy. They should also apply to our children as they spend more time at home. Next, we go on a mission with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency to eliminate child abuse.
According to global reports, children now face greater risk of abuse because they spend more unsupervised and unstructured time at home due to COVID-19 restrictions. Their contact with trusted adults outside the home, such as guidance counselors, teachers, and mentors, is reduced. And this gives them fewer opportunities to report instances of abuse. Did you know that right here in Jamaica, over 1,000 cases of sexual abuse were reported to the National Children's Registry between January and June 2020? After being reduced to 82 for April, the reports rose to 119 in May and further increased to 228 in June. It's no wonder that agencies such as the Child Protection and Family Services Agency are taking steps to foster increased awareness on how parents, guardians, and community members can safeguard their children against abuse.
Today we are in Yalos on one of our regular sensitization sessions. But because of COVID, we have taken a different form. So we take the form of a motorcade or a drive-through. So we are driving to a couple of communities today and we are sensitizing them about child protection and that every child deserves protection.
According to the regional director, St. Thomas is among the parishes that CPFSA has been alerted to a noticeable increase in cases of child abuse. As a result, several of its children's officers, along with representatives from the Center for Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse, CISOCA, were in the parish on July 16. They were there to engage citizens and distribute brochures and flyers, encouraging them to report child abuse.
We are going to RTEs, we are going to Friendship Pen, we're now in Albion, West Albion, and we'll be going to couple other communities. And we're saying, keeping the message simple. Child protection is everybody's business. You all need to get involved, and we want them to know how to report, where we are, how to get to us. So we're doing stops as well, and we're engaging community members, because we can't, because of COVID and the onset of COVID, we can't just stop sensitizing people, because child protection is very important.
He says citizens are being encouraged to learn about some of the things that constitute sexual, emotional, and physical abuse. They must also be aware of the mechanisms that child predators use to lure their victims, such as threats and offering of gifts. It's worth knowing that predators don't always start with doing something overwhelming. Instead, they may engage in touching, grooming, and overexposure. They may show them porn, and over time, this grooming desensitizes the child from realizing that something is not right. Parents, caregivers, and community members are being encouraged to closely monitor individuals with whom children spend their time. Persons should identify and speak out about potentially dangerous situations and report known or suspected cases of abuse by calling 888-PROTECT or contacting the nearest CPFSA regional office in their parish.
So we're here, we're making a statement to that. We're here, CPFSA is here, and we'll continue to make ourselves available, and we'll continue to sensitize communities, because it is within the communities that sometimes these abuse happen.
A number of measures have been implemented at the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston to limit the spread of COVID-19. We visit the gateway to find out more on the stringent regulations that must be followed by incoming passengers before they are granted permission to head off to their locations.
The Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston is an entryway into Jamaica. Since the global outbreak of COVID-19, several health security measures have been implemented to protect visitors and Jamaicans against the spread of the virus. Here are the safety guidelines to expect as you come through the airport.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. In light of the current coronavirus pandemic, PAC Kingston Airport Limited wishes to advise of the following COVID-19 protocols. Only passengers and staff are allowed inside the ticketing concourse. All farewell activities must be done at the departure curbside. Maintain physical distance of 6 feet. Wash hands for 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face and wear a mask at all times.
We need to have in mind that we are in a new normal, and this is a new layer. All the tests, the interviews done by the Minister of Health are a new layer, a new activity, so you need to be patient. Everybody that is involved in the service chain, we are trying to do our best to make you feel comfortable, make you feel welcome. Everybody coming to the airport, they need to wear a mask. That's mandatory. We are asking you to keep your relatives outside of the building.
Just prior to disembarking the plane, or as you do, you will be greeted by health officials explaining the procedures to be followed as you go through the airport. First, you must sanitize and adhere to physical distancing protocols. You will have to repeat these measures as you move through the airport.
We put more than 1,000 decals advising our visitors about social distancing. We put those in the check-in counters, in the screening checkpoints, in the baggage claim at Customs Hall, in the immigration hall, in very different places so everybody can identify where to stand while they are waiting for a service.
Government has revised the health screening process for airports. As such, not all incoming passengers will be tested at the airport. Based on observation and the health screening process, the medical officials will determine if you are high risk and must do a COVID-19 test on spot or at a later date.
We are moving away from testing persons at the airport when they come in. Right now, we continue to sample some of the flights in order for us to get an idea if there are positive cases that continue to come into the island.
Technology plays a big role to gain access to Jamaica. While at the airport, visitors are required to download the JAM COVID-19 app onto their device. During this process, you will have to confirm the information provided on the travel authorization form you filled out prior to traveling.
Right now, we're using the app for the geofencing, where they get the calls to ensure that they're in the right location. But right now, you will get calls from the health department to check on your temperature and if you're having any symptoms, and persons from the health department will visit. But as we go into hundreds and hundreds of persons that are coming into the parish, it's not going to be so easy. But there will be a new way to do this, in that you will be required to put in your temperature and your symptoms on the app, and the health department will be able to monitor you from this.
After completing the health and app processes, you will be allowed to move on to immigration. You will be denied access to immigration if clearance was not granted by the previous steps. You may be issued a ticket or escorted to immigration to prove that you were indeed processed at steps 1 to 3. Also, don't forget to sanitize as you move from one area to the next. Health officials may instruct you to do so if you don't, but for your own safety, just do it. Baggage claim is not the regular affair of grabbing your bag and go. Within this area, strict protocols must be followed. Therefore, only a few persons at a time are allowed inside the turnstile area. Depending on the number of persons inside the room, you may have to wait until others have claimed their luggage and exited. Or you may be asked to take a seat inside the area and wait for others before you go. Also at baggage claim, the health officials often conduct a pep talk with passengers on Jamaica's regulations pertaining to quarantine, social distancing, and the wearing of masks. Be sure to listen. Inside the customs hall at NMIA, you must wait until it's your turn, and you are thus instructed to be assessed by a customs officer. You must stay behind the designated line at all times while being processed. Security personnel are on hand to ensure you follow these guidelines, or else.
In Jamaica, we welcome all visitors, businessmen, Jamaicans coming to see their relatives, to see their friends. Everybody's welcome. But we need to be totally sure that you are safe and the people of Jamaica are safe. So yes, we are not doing that to make you feel uncomfortable. We are doing that, as a partner of the government, to have everybody safe. That's the main objective of that.
Welcome home. Drive safe to your destination, and remember to adhere to the country's COVID-19 protocols.
We thank you for choosing the services of the Norman Manley International Airport.
The show has come to an end, but only on your television screen. Join us online on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube for more features on a variety of issues. Then again tomorrow at this same time on this same station, we'll have more updates for you. Until then, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stay safe and stay healthy.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.